right, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the work session to order. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Mr. Brown, if you'd lead us in invocation. Mr. Griffiths, will you lead us to the pledge?
Our Heavenly Father, we come to you once again with grateful heart for an opportunity to be here as a body in a free country, a free America, and be with us as we make the decisions for our citizens of Kingston, be with our elected officials in the federal government, that they will use their knowledge and their ability to do what's right for us as citizens, be with the Ellis family and Miss Wright's family as they've gone through these tragic times of deaths in the family. And as we always do, we always give you praise every day. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Do we have any citizens here tonight who wish to address the city council? All right, seeing none, we'll go in. I'm going to change a little bit on the agenda. I'm going to move number 6 up to number 4. We're going to do the discussion of the purchase of a portable restroom trailer in lieu of constructing permanent restrooms at Southwest Point Amphitheater. And Mr. Bowling, if you would kind of start out as what you think our reasoning is of thinking what we want to do with the restrooms.
So, this is obviously something we've been talking about for a long time. We got very generously had funds donated for the cause of putting restrooms at the amphitheater, and we started looking at that. And, there's some challenges. Obviously, aside from construction, which, we would do in-house, but, material costs have obviously gone up. But the biggest issue is going to be getting sewer to that location. Because of where it is, septic's not an option. We would have to run sewer to it, and you're looking at more cost, considerably more cost to do that than to construct the restrooms themselves. So that's not to say that it can't be done, but we're looking at a pretty big expense to get sewer lines down there, get a lift station built, and get that done. So through that process, we started looking, maybe what are some other options, and we talked about the possibility of putting a facility in with a fixed tank, and that's still a possibility. There may be some issues there with that in terms of digging. I don't know, but that could be possible. But another idea that was presented was maybe looking at some sort of a mobile facility. And so JR started looking into them. We found a couple options. We found that there is such a thing, and thought that might be something that you all wanted to learn more about. So I believe there's a gentleman on the phone tonight that can give you more information. But it is an option. It's a little more than what's been donated to build restrooms. But, of course, that project was going to cost more as well. But, it could be something that could meet needs down there as events come up, and then also be utilized in other locations for other events. So I think that from that standpoint, it's definitely worth looking at, but want to put that out here tonight for you all to get some information and kind of figure out which direction you want to go.
Yeah, I think we've got Scott from Portable Restrooms on the line also. So I'm having a little trouble getting my packet pulled up. So thank you, Ms. Kelly. I'll give it back to you in a second. So, and that's one of the things we looked at, and David has come up, and I know this is a little bit more, what we're looking at here is a little bit more than what we have right now money-wise. But we've saved quite a bit of money on some other projects that we had put out there at the budget. So I think, I think this is a good idea that we could use not only at the amphitheater, but downtown at the Street Fest, anywhere that's possible. So I wanted to see what everybody else has to think about it. And like I said, I've got Mr. Scott on there from Portable Restrooms, and we'll ask him any questions we got.
First thing that popped up in my mind, really not about the trailer, but will there have to be much done to the site where it be setting that down there?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, we park food trucks
trucks down there, different things, and you're not talking about really much larger of a footprint than something like that. So I think really, wherever you have enough space to do something like that, you would have enough space for this. I don't know if he wants to just maybe give us an overview of their product, what they have to offer.
Is his example 1 or example 2?
One.
One.
Hold on, let me turn it, okay. Example 1, Scott, you on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
And that's the lesser.
Which one are you calling example 1, and which one are you calling example 2? Example 1, I take it's the 71,690.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one has been sold. Unfortunately, it is gone. So that we can build these. The situation with these trailers these days, the industry has been overwhelmed for the past 2 years, and most of the manufacturers are very backed up. We're the largest distributor in the U.S. We generally have the largest inventory. We work with about 8 different manufacturers, and we have units coming to us all the time, but we have so many different models that it's hit or miss as to what we have coming each month. We can get a unit built in 6 months, whereas a manufacturer right now is going to tell you about a year that they're booked out. That being said, though, I do have that second number 2 there for $81,770, and that's actually a pretty amazing price. The unit that was $71,690 was built. It was ordered almost a year ago, and it was built probably 3 months ago, and we've had it for that long. The pricing on these units, as you guys know, with everything else that's going on in this country, has skyrocketed. So this unit for $81,770 is a show special. It's going to be at a convention in Indianapolis, and people will be walking through it, but it won't be used. And it's $81,770. The next units I have coming are actually smaller. They're 88 plus 2 stations instead of 4, and they're $97,000 and $94,000. So this unit is a great price, although it looks pretty high. If you'd like me to explain anything else, let me know.
Well, one of the questions I got on example 1 would be, you said that you can build that in 6 months?
Correct, but it won't be $71,690.
So what would be the cost on that then?
No idea. I'd have to get a quote on that, and it's probably going to be closer to $100,000. What I'm trying to say is this one for $81,770, you're not going to get that price ever again. Because this is a show special. It's basically a demo unit, and anything new down the road is going to be more expensive.
Just to put that into context, you're talking, if you're talking in the $75,000 to $100,000 range for one of these units, I think it's very safe to say that we'll be well over that just for the sewer, just to get sewer to it, water and sewer to it. So just know, we did get a donation, but we're going to have to pay. If this is something that you all want to move forward with, we're going to have to put skin in the game either way. So it's
one thing I'll add, if you don't mind. On this is a demo unit, so what I was going to say we don't offer, but the demand for these units is sky high. So the resale value on this is huge. If you guys don't abuse it, it's got the 4-season package on it. You can sell it to anybody up north. It will hold its value very well.
One question I have, who would do and as far as to the city manager, what would be the procedure on having it cleaned out? Is that something that we just would have an outside service that would come in, or?
Yeah, we probably would. I don't know. I don't think we have anything, the capability to pump that out. And I think that's the biggest, and I don't know how you do the math on this sort of thing, but, that would be the biggest negative, I think, and I think on this one, it had a 300-gallon waste tank. I don't know how long it takes to generate 300 gallons of waste. I don't know if that's something that, in a big event like a street fest or something like that, is it going to have to be pumped out during the day? Is that enough to get through an event? We have infrastructure in place at the sewer plant where, the discharge could be dumped. We can process that, but we would have to have it, somebody, and there's people around who do that. I mean, we have companies. I mean, there's a guy here in Kingston that you all know. I mean, he comes out and pumps out our lift stations and things like that. So there are people that do that.
I can answer the what that'll handle, if you like. This unit actually has a 400-gallon waste tank. Every usage we average at just under a half a gallon, and that includes waste, flush water, and hand wash water. So with that being said, this unit will handle approximately 800 uses before it needs to be serviced.
Now, I don't know what you're looking at, but the example too that they have is the ADA plus 2. So I don't know if you're pulling that information off a different unit, but
Yeah, this one only has 300-gallon waste tank.
When did I sent you guys an ADA plus 2? I thought I sent both ADA plus 4s. That's the email I sent.
well, the plus
back
4
on
is
the
the one you
12th.
said isn't available, right?
Both the ones that I sent back on the 12th were ADA plus 4s.
Mine
Okay.
says 450 gallon, unless I'm looking at the wrong one.
But also,
Mayor,
yes, Ms. Humphries.
I have a question. If I'm understanding this correctly, the one that he's saying is available is the white one, and it's more expensive, but does it not have less stations than the other one for more money? Am I looking at that correctly?
The one I'm talking about is the silver unit. It's an ADA plus 4, and it's $81,770. And I don't know. The white ones are ADA plus 2. We have over 600 different models, so I'm not sure what you're looking at. But
So what?
I didn't send ADA plus 2s to you guys. I didn't think.
So what we
Yeah,
have,
this,
what we have is we have the 80, or we have the 4-station, the 71690 that you said is no longer available. We also have the specs, or they have in front of them the specs of an ADA plus 2. It didn't come from you, but it is the specs of the same unit. So that's what they're looking at. So.
I see. Yeah. So with us also, like I said earlier, the ADA plus 2s are more expensive than this ADA plus 4 show special.
And so I'm not confused. We have two different companies that you're looking at, correct? Two different companies, two different specs, even though this gentleman's on the phone, the lingo is the same. He's got an ADA 2 also. So we're looking at two different proposals from two different companies, and you're not speaking to the man who's got line, I would assume.
He has the same product. It's
But-
just these specs that we pulled.
That's right. Yeah.
A different distributor.
So the one he's given us, he doesn't have anymore.
So if you're talking about the ADA plus 4 being 400 gallons, and that's roughly 800 uses, you can figure for the 300, it's going to be a little less than that, but still could get us
600.
through a big event. But worst case, you have somebody come in, Councilmember Stockton, to answer your question. You have somebody come in, pump it down, and they take it to the sewer plant, and we're able to process that. So.
And sir, this is Councilman Brown. I'm assuming that it's set up the same design as a travel trailer, where you've got a line
Similar.
that goes to the outside, to the middle of it, or right there. You've got you can disengage a pipe, and it will let the fresh water out, and it will let the also let the gray water out. Correct?
Or
No, these only have one tank. on
One
them.
tank,
Everything goes
okay.
to the one tank.
And then in the same manner, it hooks up with just a regular garden hose for the fresh water supply?
Yes, sir.
On the electricity that's needed to run, is it similar to or does it need special wiring? How many amps does it take to do that? 60 probably?
Yeah, this unit has up to 420 volt, 20 amp cords.
Okay.
It depends on what you're running. The AC is going to be on one circuit. The heat's going to be on another circuit. The pumps and the lights will be on another circuit. So depending on what you're running is what you're plugging in.
Yeah, so the standard for your industry, most all of these are the same. And what we're looking at, I don't know if city managers explained to you, we've got a brand new amphitheater that's on the lake that'll seat a couple of thousand people on the grass and in some concrete step up built-in places. And we don't have enough restroom facility. You have to walk so far to get to the restroom. So we're trying to find something to put next to it that I don't think will take all of the crowd if we have a crowd, but it sure will help old folks like me, and especially handicapped people that don't have to go back up this hill almost a quarter of a mile by road if you're in an electronic wheelchair or you're in some kind of device. Yeah. So we'll have to put some kind of, see if we can come off our existing building with some sort of electricity. I guess we could sit here and talk about this forever. Would it be advisable? I really like the idea of this instead of building something. I think we can, as you and I spoke when we first talked about it, I can see using it for baseball tournaments. I can see it for the street fest. I can see it when we get our ramps finished. I can see it for the boat tournaments. I can see this thing really being an asset for something that nobody else in the county has got. I can really see us using it. We need about twice as much money.
You can also rent it out to other people.
Yeah, and it's about twice as much as we've got money for, but like the city manager said, we knew we were going to have to put more money into it anyway. So all that being said, would it be advisable to put on the agenda to authorize the city manager to solicit bids on this, since it's going to be 6 months anyway?
I think that's fine, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask the attorney and see, and I don't know if it's, have we checked to see if this was on state bid?
I would doubt that there'll be a state bid on it. It may be through one of the other organizations we use, and this may be something that he knows. What are the two? I can't even remember. Sourcewell, and there's another that we belong to that are purchasing cooperatives. I don't know if you all have any contracts through them, but those are things we can look into, and worst case, yeah, we put it out to bid, and that's not a problem either. So
I think we just need to find out the right specs of what we want and go from there.
'Cause I don't think we need a radio stereo system.
some of those things are going to be spec. You're gonna pay for it whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
That's when it was extra. It was
Yeah.
$700.
I think on any of them you got to bear in mind that the handicap, Councilwoman Humphrey's talking about one being bigger than the other one. If you look at it, you've got a men and a women's, and then you've got a handicap. So I'm assuming when the handicap person wasn't using the handicap, that the other people, we wouldn't lock it down, that they would use it also.
Right.
So, but I could see us just pulling it out to the sewer plant and just dumping it, filling it up with water at the hydrant. I mean, not the hydrant, but at the faucet out there, and just bringing it back. I mean, if we have enough people that use it during the day, that day, we've got a big crowd.
Okay. Is there any more questions right now on this? If not, we'll add it to the agenda to put it out for bids. Okay. Scott, thank you for calling in, and you can have the rest of your evening.
Okay, feel free to call me with any other questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I
Bye-bye.
also noticed from looking through these that what drives the
Scott
price up,
with
the
portable
cost
restroom
of it
trailers.
is
Has left the conference.
It adds about $20,000 to every
But
trailer.
we got the.
No, I'm just saying,
Right.
if people ask why we can't go out and buy the 4 restroom trailer for $60,000, it's because we have to have
They did.
80 of them.
And you think there'll be people that'll say that we're spending too much money?
Oh, you think?
No. All right, so we're going back up to number 4 now. Discussion of city boards and committees. That's Councilman Brown.
I've got 2 things on this, and both of them are policy. One is the way we advertise for our vacancies on the board. That is a policy that this council set way back when. And we said we were going to advertise in Roane County News and all this kind of stuff. I want to see if we can change the policy to delete the Roane County News and just advertise vacancies on committees just on our website. We're not, you know, I'm just really upset with Roane County News. It's been down for the last 2 weeks, and you can't even, for the ones that were coming up on this next week, I couldn't even find them online. Now, they may go on print, but I don't get it in print. I get it online.
I've heard someone else complain about that this evening too. What? So,
I mean, I would yield to him as far as, you know, I would think we can, but.
We never advertised it until 5 years ago when we started advertising.
I mean, there's no law that says you have to advertise your vacancy, so I think when you do social media, website, I don't think
I'm not aware of any statute that requires us to advertise for those positions. I think you all just want to give the citizens the best opportunity to know that there are positions open.
And I think there's more people visit our site than that site.
You'll definitely be saving us money, I'll tell you that, a big chunk of money. It's not cheap to run.
And again, I'm not talking about advertising for council meetings, and I'm just talking about the appointments of boards.
Is that a is that a policy we have, written policy, or is that something we just came up with? I can't remember if we did a written policy or.
A lot of times you all will make what you will refer to as a motion to do X.
Okay.
And the only way to find that is for Kelly to go wandering through the minutes of the meeting, because we've never been able to come up with what we would refer to as a policy manual that covers everything. We have talked about it many, many times, but we don't have a book that says, here are all the policies that you all have got.
Well,
Yeah, that was done by council directive. It wasn't done by resolution or ordinance.
No,
so
we just, it was a motion.
if you all tell us that we don't have to run them in the paper anymore, we'll be more than happy to make that happen, so.
But I think Councilman Brown is correct. You need to, if you have a motion and it's in place in the minutes of the meeting, you need to retract it with the same kind of.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that Kelly, the way she's got the minutes on, she can find it pretty quick, and I think it was even before we came into this building.
Oh, it was.
I think so. It was when we were down at the community
I
center.
think it was too.
10, 12 years ago.
Started over the library board.
And I know it came up,
The advertising
What-
just started,
it came up
4 or 5
once
years
again
ago.
since I've been here, because I think we had something,
it was Parks and Rec, it was over Parks and Rec Board.
I know it came up with the RU board one time too, I believe,
Yeah.
and we did
With
that, but,
Councilman White.
one of the, one ad, I mean, each ad that we run is what?
It depends on if it's a display or I try to go the cheapest route. Usually $20, $30.
So every time we have a committee vacancy, so that adds up.
Yeah, I mean, if you could find that we'll look at that. You had something else?
I do. I have one other thing, Mr. Mayor and Council. You know, we use part of our TVA money, and we spend it to establish and develop a website, which I think we met our goal. It's good. People utilize it. You can pay your taxes on it. You can pay a ticket on it. You can watch the council meetings and stuff. I'd like for us to consider looking at another policy or directory to make all of the appointed boards of the city of Kingston meet in this room so that they can all be televised on our website. Water board, beer board does it, city council does it, even this workshop's being done. Our
Planning Commission.
planning commission,
BZA.
zoning does it. For those of us who are interested in the other boards, it would be nice if we could watch those. Maybe not that night, but a later date. I don't think this would affect and include such boards that we have no control over, such as the REU board or some of those boards, because they're not established by us. But I would see moving the Park and Rec board here, have it recorded and played. I think that does away with the complaints of some of those people that when they have a dance class next door, you can't hear during election time. That keeps us from having any conflicts during early voting. I could see the library board moving back over here. That's probably more of a distraction meeting in the library to the library than it is anything else. That just leaves the beautification committee. I think they meet in the room next door most of the time. So I mean, I just think it would better utilize what tools we have in our toolbox, and we would be the first city that would have that to where you could have all your meetings and that we could keep them for historical purposes.
Any comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I actually just reached out to, because we had, I think Kelly was the first one that mentioned it to me, to the beautification committee. And the thing that they were concerned about is the ones that were on the committee, they were just wanting to volunteer to help the city. And it was like, they felt like if they were on television, you know, it just made everything where that they just didn't feel like that they would be as open. They wouldn't participate as well, is the words I guess it was used. Whether that be their preference or not, I mean, whatever the council decides. But the thing I was thinking, as far as on a positive or negative, because I could see it being positive on certain things, but the negative thing would be is that we, as a committee, meet at a building that's already having, it's open right now. So we've got people already scheduled, they're already paid to work. You're not using any of the utilities and you're not having any extra expense. If you meet here where that you're not having those meetings at that time, then that's just that much more of a expense on the city. And I'm trying to weigh out, I guess, as far as, because it's not a board that is making a voting decision, then in my mind it wasn't something that would be as cost effective as I think it. I couldn't weigh it out as it being a pro versus a con, or con versus a pro. I just didn't feel like it was something we could really, we would need to make it a change.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just know we meet, the second Thursday of the month, right when the library closes, right in that little room they have. That is pretty sufficient. And I'm like her. I just don't know. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I ain't trying to, but I just wonder would people be more open, and they know people, be watching. Will they be comfortable?
Well, I mean, my opinion is, if you're on one of these boards, it's not a secret board. Our citizens have a right to see and hear what's going on in these meetings, and I understand that, because I know when we first started this, everybody's a little bit nervous about being on camera. You get used to it after a while, but I don't think that the point of people not being more open, I don't know if it's justification to not televise them, because I feel like our citizens demand and want more openness in government. I do, however, see the point. I see library board not wanting to drive here to do a meeting. I would say Parks and Rec wouldn't either. So, I don't know what the answer is, but I fully support all meetings being televised and open to the public.
Yeah, and all of them are open to the public. And, even our planning commission meetings are aired, and there's a lot of discussion there. I know back feeding back.
Well, Mayor,
Yes.
the comment I would like to make is, and as you said, all meetings are open to the public. Anyone's welcome to come to any meeting that the city has. But one concern that I would have, and I have not mentioned this to the Park and Rec Board, we were unable to meet last month because of the weather. We will have a meeting this week, and I will discuss this with them. But one issue I have right now is COVID, because if everyone is there, especially I know for Park and Rec, I don't see any way that we could social distance as the council does in the council room with the board. And I think that would definitely be a concern right now as far as COVID is concerned for social distancing.
How many total members are on the Park and Rec?
I think there's 9 members, and then there's also usually, some Park and Rec staff that's there, and there's usually, if everybody's there, there's going to be like 12, 13 people. But also, I mean, we're talking about everybody being able to hear what's going on, and that's great, but I'm telling you from somebody that's on the phone right now and that has watched this online, you don't hear it that well. So
Well, it's because I think not everybody has their microphones on when they talk.
I think for anyone to be able to hear us, that you have to speak like I am now so that you hear yourself in the speaker. If we even leave it on and sit back, there's sometimes I can't even hear what the other council members are saying.
I have one last question on that. My microphone is on. I've never had anybody say I wasn't loud enough, so I don't think that's. Is there capabilities at the Park and Rec facility to record there, or is that not a capability if you're able to keep it at one location versus having it at City Hall?
There's not infrastructure in place currently to do that. I mean, we'd have to install cameras and sound system and, the things that you need that we had to do to this room. I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't be done, certainly, but.
And what kind of expense are we talking about?
Don't know. I mean, the camera, I don't know. We just recently put this new camera in. That's probably not that much, but, for the sound system, you'd have to have microphones so you could obviously pick it up. So you would have some cost there, but I don't know. I couldn't give you a cost off the top of my head.
The only reason why I say that is in my mind I'm thinking, if we add 3 more meetings on a month, just 3 to this building, I mean, is that requiring how much more staff at this location? Would it be? I mean, what's the difference on cost other than running and operating the building? Because just heating and airing, or whatever the utility difference would be, versus what you've already got.
I mean, unless a staff member was needed for the committee, you wouldn't have to. Technically, you wouldn't have to have anybody here. I mean, all of you, there's a council rep on every one of these committees. You all have access to the building, so I mean, again, if a staff member needs to be here as part of the committee work, but other than that, you wouldn't per se have to have somebody here.
Okay.
Mayor, I have 2 things.
Yes.
Number 1, I'm not so sure that it needs to be live recorded. I would just like to see the meetings recorded. Number 2, regarding COVID, I know all meetings are open to the public, but I think people would be would be able to have an opinion and get all the information because they cannot attend due to COVID. People are more likely to want to sit and watch a video of a meeting than to drive down here and come in here and sit in the audience and watch the meeting. And I think that's become even more apparent because of COVID. People don't want to be in buildings with other people at the moment. So I think this is it would be something that would help our citizens be more informed. Like I said, I know all of our meetings are open to the public, but people don't come, but they do watch the videos.
Right.
So.
Anyone else? Mr. Brown, would you like to add that to the agenda for Tuesday night?
Well, I didn't mean to stir up a political debate about trying to get members to serve on the board because they're too timid. Maybe that's a question we ask them when we appoint them, that if they're outspoken. COVID and separating the park and rec, I just counted, there's 10 of us sitting here and 2 in the back, and we're social distancing. I just thought that it would be good that the citizens of Kingston and we would have a little bit better open government, and that we could utilize our resources that we that we have. I mean, if your committees don't want to do it, I never dreamed that there would be, I just thought this would sail through. I never dreamed that there would be any opposition or any question about meeting in the public for the citizens. So I don't know if I want to put it on or not. I don't want to go through a big discussion Tuesday night about it too, and it failed, and people say, well, they're, you know, they don't want to do that because they're hiding something, and I'm not saying we are. So I don't know.
Can I add one thing? We do meet in the public now, don't we? As far as the meetings?
Well, I mean.
Yes, sir, put it on.
Yeah.
Put it on the agenda, yes, sir.
So we meet now in the public? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Let's go to number 5 is discussion of an option of a resolution in support of increased state shared revenue. Councilmember Wright and Mr. Bowley.
TML sent us a request of doing this resolution, and Mr. Bowling has probably further information.
Yeah, so one thing before I start, and I mentioned this in one of my emails, the resolution you have in your copy or in your packet has a typo in it when it talks about the estimated revenue that we were denied. The number that we have in there was the number that was originally provided to us. I did some work and lowered that estimate a bit, and it should be $94,000, but I just stuck the wrong copy in your packet, so scratch through that. But Councilmember Wright's correct. This is something that TML's made a priority this year. They're trying to get cities to get on board, particularly those with key legislators, but hopefully a lot of cities. And it goes back, I mean, there's a historical precedence, and I've outlined all this, but you know, going back to the 1940s, the state started sharing a percentage of the state sales tax with the cities, knowing that we are the engines of that revenue. In the early 2000s, the economy was tough, revenue was down, so the state increased that and the cap on single use, but they didn't share the additional revenue. So that's led to a huge revenue windfall for the state, but that's money that hasn't come to us that we certainly could have taken advantage of on behalf of our taxpayers. And again, you know, the estimate last year that would have netted an additional $94,000 for the city, which is over 6 cents on the tax rate. So, you know, we're not talking about an insignificant amount of money. So this is something that we've been encouraged to adopt, and so with your recommendation or with your approval, I'll put this on the agenda. But they did send out a boilerplate resolution. I made that a little wordier just because that's what I do, but you have this in front of you for your consideration.
Is there any discussion on that? Not seeing none, yes, we'll put that on the agenda. All right, item 7 is discussion and selection of firms for administrative and engineering services related to the ARPA funding projects.
So, excuse me, at your direction, we went out knowing that ARPA projects are coming up quick, and this is going to be a world we live in for the next few years. We wanted to get ahead of the pack as best we could in lining up some of the help that we're going to need to navigate this, specifically being administrative and engineering services. So we sent out requests for qualifications, and we got one response from community development partners in terms of the administrative side, help us manage this funds just as they do in our grants. And we've been working with them for the 8 years that I've been here, and I worked with them for almost that long in Oliver Springs. They're a great firm. They're very helpful, and we will definitely need their expertise as we move ahead, just as we are on the build grant and the ADA transition plan and several other things that we've worked on. The engineering side, a little different. We got more response. We sent out, I can't remember, 8 or 9, I think, firms. We got 3 responses. Kind of expected a little more than that, but as I pointed out, 3 is better than none. One of them, a name that's familiar to some of you who've been on here a while, Vaughn and Melton. They responded. J.R. Wofford, who I'm sure everyone's heard of, and then Folga McAdoe, who's a new firm in terms of our exposure, but came highly recommended as well. And so I started looking through those. Kevin and I have both done that. We've talked to some other utilities around that have used some of these firms, and obviously they all have their pros and cons. But in our eyes, it came down to 2. Being Wofford and Folga McAdoe, and I think again they both have pros and cons. Again, I know everyone's familiar with Wofford. We've used them some as well, but as I pointed out, I have a couple concerns with them. One, they are strictly utility work, and even though most of our ARPA projects will probably be utility related, at least ones that we would need engineering for, it'd be nice to have a go-to firm that we could use for everything, and they aren't that type. There have been projects that we've called them about before, and they've just said we don't do that kind of work. So they're kind of a single source operation. Secondly, they're a really big firm, and they have some really big clients, and I'm afraid that in a situation like that, we would be more of a number to them, and I could see us kind of getting lost in the shuffle amongst some of their bigger clients, and they're also not a cheap firm. Not that any of them are, but when you have bigger firms, you have more offices, more real estate, more departments. They're gonna be more expensive. So those were kind of the knocks there. Folga McAdoe appealed to me because they're a more inclusive firm in terms of the services they offer, whether that be utility work, electrical engineering, civil engineering. They're more of an inclusive shop. Also, even though they have a larger affiliation, they're a pretty small firm internally, and I think would be much more receptive to our needs and serve us well in that capacity. Again, they come highly recommended. So in looking at this and weighing the pros and cons, Kevin and I have both agreed that is the firm that we'd like to recommend to you. Again, this is, obviously it's council's decision, but that would be our recommendation. And if this is something that you're interested in, I'd love to have them come here next week to the meeting so you all can formally meet them, ask questions, get more information. But we would like to get this locked in. Obviously, if you don't like this recommendation or any of these choices, we can always go back to the drawing board. But we're getting to the point where we're going to need to start moving forward. Mm-hmm. And the time's going to come where all these firms are going to be full, and I don't want to be on the outside looking in and not be able to get the help we need. So we think we have 2 good firms that can really be helpful to us. That's our recommendation. If you'd like to go a different route, we'll certainly do that too.
So we have a recommendation from city manager. Does anybody have any discussion or any difference of opinion?
I fully support Mr. Bowling and Mr. Hamilton's ability to select someone, so I'm fully happy with who they've come up with.
If nobody else, we'll put that on the agenda.
And if I could, just to kind of give you an idea of where our mind is on this, I'll have, unless you just don't want me to, my plan was to have Folga McAdoe and Community Development Partners here next week at the meeting if you did have any questions. But once we get them in place, my thought was maybe early March, we look at having kind of a workshop kickoff session with council, bring them in so we can start vetting some potential projects, figure out what our path wants to go. And, by then we'll know, we already know the final rules. We'll know more about the application process for the state money. So it would be about good timing for us to start planning that. So.
Okay, that sounds good. And we need to get this done first before we can go into that. Okay. Number 8, discussion of 2 expiring term appointments to the beautification committee for 4 years terms ending 3/1/26. Ms. Stockton.
Well, the 2 that have replied back, Kelly had sent them a letter. Thank you for reminding them in time. Knowing these 2, they are not timid, so I don't think that will be an issue at all. But I will definitely, I would like to put both of those on the agenda to vote for them. They have participated very well and are both an asset to the beautification.
What's the names?
I'm sorry, Robert Sparks and Susan Whitlock.
So with no other names to come up, we'll put those 2 names on the agenda for Tuesday night. Last item on the agenda is discussion of request to surplus property. Mr. Bowling.
We have 4 departments have submitted items that they would like to surplus. As you know, we've been pretty aggressive with this over the last few months. Have a lot of housekeeping we need to do, a lot of old stuff that we need to get rid of, and some of them we've been surprisingly successful at bringing in some revenue. So while there's a hot market, we'd like to keep that going. So you have a whole host of things here that we want to get rid of.
With that, we'll add that to the item, to the agenda also for Tuesday night. And we'll go around. Mr. Griffiths, do you have anything?
No, did have this question. If we're going to go with his recommendation on the firm, is it necessary to have both of them here to talk to?
Well, no, it's.
I'm happy to have them here. They'd be glad to come, but if you don't think it's necessary, I won't waste their
I know
time.
myself personally, you deal with these people all the time. If that's who you recommend, I fully support that, and that's why I just wondered, do we need to have the other one here?
I appreciate that, and there will be, if you don't want them here next week, there will be multiple opportunities that you'll have to work with both of them going forward.
Now, of course, that's just me.
I kind of agree. They're just going to come meet and greet. Well, when we do a work session in early March, they're going to be here, so we can meet and greet. And then it wouldn't take them an extra trip down here for it.
Okay.
So you're gonna invite all 3 of them?
No, I was just going to invite the ones we recommended, but if you want me to invite all 3 or invite none, we'll do that. But my plan was to
Just the one? Okay, that's good with me.
Ms. Wright, do you have anything? Thank you.
No, sir.
So you do or do not want us to
I
have
don't
them
think
here?
we should have them here Tuesday night. I don't see the need in it unless just somebody says, yes, we need to see them.
I mean, we'll definitely have them here in March when we get that workshop scheduled.
That'd be fine. Mr. Round, do you have anything else?
Just 2 little things. They're started back to work out at the dock out here. Hopefully this rain coming in Thursday doesn't bring the lake back up to where that it slows them back down again. Because remember, that thing's 50 foot by 250 foot that they're going to pour and put out there. Just a little update here, and I don't want to steal any thunder, but I thought he was through out at the ball field at Southwest Point. Really impressed with the way the company is proceeding on their progress. Not only are they working out there, but they're working on the radar lights for the traffic lights. But out at the ball field, they've got all the holes dug. I think they dug the last one today that was in concrete. They've got the bases set that the aluminum poles will go over all the lights, and all the poles are there. They bored the parking lot today and got to the transformer pad, and then they bored out at the soccer field. Then they started trenching to put the underground conduit for the cable, the electrical cable that will go to the lights. So remember, all that is underground. when we talked to them, I know that one of the coaches for, not the high school teams, but were worried about, they didn't see a lot of progress. There's really been a lot of progress. I think they're more looking at lights coming down than they are lights going up. And like I told those guys today, I said, we'll take care of that. I said, you can tear those poles down during school when the kids aren't playing or anything as fast as, they got 2 cranes out there. But it is really, I think they're going to meet their deadline. I really, really do, especially for baseball and softball because it's on top of the hill. Thank you.
Ms. Humphries, do you have anything?
No, I had to unmute my phone. Sorry. No, I don't have anything, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Stockton, do you have anything?
Just a couple, I saw where the sidewalks, the Public Works has started on the sidewalk that we had lost many years ago, and super excited to see that in progress because that's fantastic. And that's at the 70 and 58, if you remember when the state had widened the road. So that was awesome. And on the banners, I wanted to thank Public Works too because I saw that they were starting to put the banners back up. 30 more family members have purchased more, so just really appreciative to be able to have those displayed. But I wanted to send out a special thanks. We were so blessed. Old Castle Company donated 100% of our blocks for our mural wall. And very, very appreciative for them to do that because it was one of those projects I wasn't for sure with how materials are going up so much if that was something they could do. But they donated those and actually delivered them for us. We didn't even have to pick them up, and they're at the site for our next project. So that was a blessing.
On a side note, on Old Castle, they have also committed if we wanted to build kayak storage for rental purposes, that they would also donate for that cause as well.
That'd be awesome.
And they also donated all of the block for the batting facility.
Yeah, and for the dog park.
And there's a pallet or 2 left out there. I don't know if Park and Rec's got any use for them, but that may be something that they're stacked behind the building out there if they haven't cleaned out yet.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the same as the dog park. So that might be something for another park potential. Oh yeah, a whole lot of value. But that, I just wanted to give him a special thanks.
Is Chris Nance still the manager down there?
He's still, that's who contacted me about.
So he's an old Kingston boy too.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope. That's it.
Giles, do you have anything?
I like thing Ms. Stockton bringing up about the sidewalk to nowhere. I actually had a voicemail today that said, looks like the sidewalk to nowhere is finally going somewhere. So I got that on my phone. March 19th this year, it come up quick. It's going to be a kayak fishing tournament with 3 different organizations across Tennessee coming in. The Watts Bar Kayak, which is the one local, Tennessee Kayak, and Bass Pro is actually doing some kind of thing with it. I called the city manager, JR, tried to get some stuff lined up. Like I said, that will be on March 19th. They had one last year. They held at Cherokee Lake. Really bad weather, and they had over 75 kayaks show up. So they're hoping it being down here. They actually come down here to one of Watts Bar Kayak Group's tournament, and they really liked it. So they doing their first one. They'll be doing 3 across Tennessee. I think he said this year, and the first one will be here in Kingston on March 19th.
That's awesome.
Good.
Got anything else? Mr. Bowley? You guys covered it. Yeah, I don't have anything else to bring up either. So.
Have we got anything scheduled for the amphitheater?
No.
Not yet, I don't think. All right, if that's it, this meeting's adjourned.